Good morning to you all again. I'm Ruth Kalinicki. I'm the project management consultant here at Detroit Public Television. And thank you so much for being here for this inaugural PBS Learning Media training. And the first time that we've had a collection of teachers in the building to do something this meaningful. So thank you for being a part of this and sharing one of these few fleeting days of summer with us and giving it to us. So the flyer or the email that you got about this training enticed you in a couple of different ways, I believe. We said that we would provide you with some education about the station. We'd give you a tour. We'd let you meet some of the employees of the station leadership. We'd feed you. And that we would also give you the opportunity to become educated about PBS Learning Media. But there's a really critical part of today's education that wasn't on that flyer, and it's because it's self-serving for the station. And for me, it's the most important part of today, and that is that we want to learn from you. We need to know how best to partner with you. We need to know how to establish meaningful collaborations with you. And we need to know how to help you make your lives easier. One of the things that Rich Homburg, our general manager, often says to folks that he's meeting with as potential partners is, so what would you do if you had a TV station at your disposal? And so I pose that same question to you. What would you do if you had 100,000 viewers a day tuning in to see what it was you had to say? What kinds of messages would be valuable for you to utilize in your classroom? What kinds of messages would be valuable to help you to better connect with parents, caregivers, your colleagues, your administrators, all the folks that you impact in your professional life? And I want you to share that with us. Our schedule for today allows for lots of time for meaningful interaction with each other. And so I really hope that during the day you'll seek us out from the station. We'll have station leadership floating in and out, and just share your thoughts with us. If you're not able to do it today, you can send me an email. Your registration today, if you send a response to that, it will come to me. And so I'll get those ideas, and we'll be collecting them, and we'll be utilizing them to inform how we move forward as we get even more serious about being a collaborating partner for educators in the region. So please make sure that we hear your voice and all of that. So without further ado, I want to introduce our trainer. John Sessler is a Midwesterner. His roots are in art and education. He's an expert in PBS Learning Media. Most importantly, he understands your world. So he's going to take this incredibly robust, somewhat overwhelming site and make sure that you're walking out today feeling like you have a useful tool that you can be utilizing not only through the school year, but hopefully into perpetuity. PBS Learning Media is going to continue to evolve over the years and be present over the years, and so we want you to make it just another place that you go to for inspiration, that you go to when you're really struggling to figure out something to add to your lesson plan, or to share with parents to help them extend your classroom learning into the home. So, I present to you Jonathan Sessler.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for taking time out of your summers to be with us today. I know summer for teachers is not just about vacation. It's more time to learn and pick up great resources to take back to your classroom. As Ruth mentioned, my name is John Sessler, and I lead a lot of the trainings for PBS Learning Media across the country, based out of DC, our national offices, but I actually live in Minneapolis. But I do trainings all over the country at a lot of conferences, come to stations to work with educators. And I also have with me, if she doesn't mind raising her hand, Tracy Manor. And Tracy works on our PBS Learning Media custom service. And I'll get more into the custom service as we go along here, but I do want to mention that as a registrant of this workshop and an attendee of this workshop, you all now have access to PBS Learning Media Custom. And so based on the emails that you gave us during that registration process, that's what we use to upload you into the custom service. So when you log into PBS Learning Media for the first time, or if you log in the next time after using it, you'll see that you have the additional resources that come with the custom service, the state standards alignment, and then some of the other features, which I'll talk about in more depth in just a moment. And then Tracy will also be around throughout the day to answer any other questions that you might have about the custom service. And then we'll talk a little bit about the school subscription that you'll receive as well, and how you'll be the main point of the contact for that just at the beginning. And if you want to shift that conversation over to someone else at your school, we can certainly be in contact with that person, but we'll discuss that more later, and then we'll be in contact with you in the coming weeks to get your teachers at your school set up with the custom service. So to begin with, just to give you a little bit of background regarding myself, I came into education. My pathway was through the arts, and I like to say, just as PBS loves teachers, I love teachers. My parents were both educators in Iowa for my dad 30 years as a music educator, and my mom was a visual arts teacher for over 40 years. So it was just kind of in my blood to work in education at some point. But I always found that my engagement in school was through the arts, particularly theater. And so I always found that telling stories and hearing stories was a way that piqued my curiosity, sparked that curiosity, and got me excited about learning. And so I went on to study theater, was ready to take on the world as an actor, and I realized very quickly I needed a job to keep me sustained and keep the income coming in. So I took a job with something called the Story Bus in Chicago, and I drove around the streets in this 37-foot Winnebago and went to early childhood centers and used storytelling and creative drama to hone literacy skills. And so fast forward a bit farther down the road, and my path in education took me to educational technology in graduate school, because I found that technology, digital media, was just another way to engage students. Just as I was engaged in learning and schooling through the arts and through theater, I think technology has such a power to spark that curiosity in students, especially the digital media and the media that you'll find on PBS and the media that you'll find on PBS Learning Media specifically. It can be that gateway for students, that hook for students to dig deeper into a subject. I'm sure you see that all as educators. And as Rich said, you are really the experts of your classrooms, of your students, of the content you deliver to them. So PBS really wants to be here to support you with that great educational content that many of you probably have used in the past. And PBS Learning Media is your portal to that educational content. So before I go down too much farther into PBS Learning Media as a platform, I just want to gauge who we have with us in the room today. So we're just going to play a little activity here. If you could just raise your hand if the question pertains to you. I was going to have you stand up and sit down, but maybe that's a little too much with our devices and the cords. Don't want anyone to trip. But if this question pertains to you, raise your hand and we'll put them down and I'll ask another question. And then we'll take a look around the room to see who's with us today. So raise your hand if you have a childhood memory that has PBS as part of it. Some show that was your favorite, possibly Mr. Rogers, like me when I was a child. I loved to play Mr. Rogers with my dad's sweater and put on the shoes in the morning. So great, lots of hands. Keep those hands raised if you have an early childhood memory of PBS. Does anyone want to share one of their favorite shows as a child back here? Zoom in Boston, yes. Wonderful. And if you go to the Boston WGBH offices, they have the big Zoom letters in the hallway there. Anyone else have an early childhood memory that they want to share? Sesame Street. We will never forget Sesame Street, and it continues going strong with all the great educational content they have delivering for our early childhood audience. Another question for you. If you have used PBS content in your classroom or anticipate using it this coming year, raise your hands. Great. Anyone want to share a piece of content that you deliver to your classroom or integrate in your curriculum?
The American Experience, specifically the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fires.
Excellent. Great series, American Experience. That is part of the custom service. We have full-length episodes of American Experience, and I'll show you how to access that. Back there. Yes, and then Shakespeare Uncovered is a wonderful collection that we have on PBS Learning Media, and I'll highlight that. And right over here. Say that again?
Nova.
Nova, wonderful science content from Nova if you haven't checked it out. And now we'll get a little deeper into what you teach. So if you teach pre-K, raise your hand. Great, good to know as I show content here. How about kindergarten through 3rd grade? Excellent. Hands down. 4th through 6th grade? Great. And then 7th through 8th? And high school? Great. And for anyone that's teaching middle school, high school, if you are a STEM teacher, if you teach any of the STEM subject areas, or even elementary, great. Language arts? Thank you. The history, geography, civics. Excellent. Any tech teachers or broadcast journalism? Wonderful. And now for our last set of questions. If you have been teaching 0 to 5 years, if you're entering your 1st year or your 5th year, raise your hand. Good to see. Congratulations. 6 to 10 years in the classroom. Excellent. 11 to 15, should we say? Okay. 16 to 20. Wow. Wonderful. And then over 20 years in the classroom, how many? Everyone, let's give all of our teachers a round of applause, but particularly the ones that have given 20 years of dedication to our students. Thank you so much. And Rich, I just want to echo what he said this morning. We are just so grateful that you are out there every day with our students and bringing such great educational content and learning to the classroom every day. So to highlight some of the agenda that we'll go through today, we have about an hour and a half together, an hour and 20 minutes it looks like at this point. And so we will also give you time after this to work in some smaller groups with subject-specific integration of how to use PBS Learning Media, and grade-specific if you want to meet with other educators who are working with the same grade or subject level. And then we'll make sure that if you don't have some of your questions answered during this beginning training portion, I'll make sure that I'll make myself available to answer your questions as far as the login process, the creation of the digital storyboards or lessons that we'll go through with the tools. So we'll have plenty of time to work through all those issues. So I'm going to first start off with an introduction to PBS Learning Media and really what we're thinking about at PBS as we bring new content into the site. And as Ruth mentioned, the site is continually evolving, and it has come a long way even in the 5 years that it's been around. So you will continue to see improvements with the search features. You'll see more and more content, topical, relevant content for you to use in the classroom. So check back often and use the content often in your classroom. Then we're going to dive into more of the functional aspects of the site. I'll go over the features, and then I'm going to show you all how to curate your favorite resources into folders, and you can share those out with other teachers, your colleagues that are not here today. Please get them excited about PBS Learning Media and share out your folders and favorite resources. And then for the students as well, you can share out. We had a question back there. That's a great question. What I can do is I can, we have kind of a truncated PowerPoint and training guide that I could supply to Ruth and Tara, and we can maybe have some of that available. But I'm also going to show you on the site, we have a really robust FAQ section. And that even goes through some videos, and I have some training videos on there as well in a training section. So hopefully those might even be better resources for you to use digitally. And then after that, taking a look at how to curate favorites, we'll take a deep dive into the content. And I'm going to show a range of content that hopefully you can use in your classroom, or at least it sparks that interest in what you can find on the site. And I always tell teachers, as you're looking up PBS Learning Media, really put that thesaurus hat on. Think about all the different ways you could search a topic or search a particular theme that you're using in your classroom. So we'll put that thesaurus hat on today during the second half, especially as we're looking for resources that you'll use this coming year. And then we're going to take a look at the very end, and if I don't get to this in the first portion, we'll take just 10 minutes right after lunch to show you how to use the tools. And these tools are fairly new to PBS Learning Media. We have a digital storyboard where you can create your very own interactive storyboard or web page that you can share out with your students, and your students can also create one as well. And then we have a lesson builder tool where you can create a self-paced experience for your students. And then we'll definitely have time for Q&A. So a quick quiz, because I'm not going to let you off the hook just because it's summer. This is a very easy quiz with one question. But I have, as we think about this landscape of educational technology, 3 quotes from educators regarding an innovation in education. And I want to see if you have any thoughts about what these quotes refer to. One of the most effective of all instruments for the rapid and vivid communication of knowledge will in itself effect a revolution in the modes of teaching and almost works miracles. Any guesses as to what that refers to? The chalkboard, that's right. That is quotes. These are quotes from the 1840s of teachers referring to this innovation of the chalkboard. And my, how far we've come since the days of the chalkboard. Do any of you even use chalkboards anymore? Possibly whiteboards, but now we have smart boards, we have devices that students are bringing in, and we have even 3D printers. So one thing that remains the same, I believe, of course, as all this technology evolves, as new strategies evolve, is that we need great teachers, such as yourselves, out in our classrooms, making sure that students are thinking about the ways they're using these devices, this new technology, effectively, and thinking about the ways that the skills that are imparted through the digital media and technology are translated into real life, and how these skills are going to prepare students for careers that we can't even dream up at this point. So it's not about the devices, it's not about the technology, it's about how we help students synthesize the use of these new tools and synthesize the ways that they are going to develop the skills that will make them successful in the years to come. So this brings me to PBS's commitment to education. And just as I said earlier that education is in my DNA, education is really in the DNA of PBS. So we are America's largest classroom and one of the most trusted organizations in the country for delivering educational content. And educators, like you all out there, are some of the most engaged audience members and consumers of PBS content. I saw it as you raised your hands that you have been using PBS content in your classrooms probably for years. And now the method for how we deliver the content has evolved, but it's still the same great trustworthy content that you've used all these years. And as you can see there are a lot of different trends, as I just mentioned earlier, and a lot of, I'm sure, trends that you see as you go to different conferences, as you have your own professional development sessions for different technology and different media you can use in the classroom, different strategies, how to integrate this. Everything from new ways of delivering content for students to access content with mobile learning, bringing their own devices. Do any of you have policies at your school for BYOD? Where students can bring their own devices? Excellent. So we're seeing more of that. So we have to make sure that our content is available on these devices and that it's compatible. We're finding new ways to help students connect the digital and physical worlds. That's something I get really excited about, is how can we help students translate what they're learning in the digital space into these physical, project-based learning experiences, hands-on activities, knowing that those are the true skills that they'll need to succeed in the 21st century. So we have everything from the 3D printing to the gamification, translating those mechanics from games that they're playing into the classroom. And then, of course, new ways to assess students' learning. And that's something that we've created on PBS Learning Media with these tools, with the self-paced lessons that students can go through, that you create as teachers, and then you can assess how they're doing in these lessons. So although we're following these trends at PBS and we keep our pulse on what's happening, we continue to do what we do best, which is deliver the content and tell those great stories and help spark your students' curiosity so that they'll become the lifelong learners. And isn't that really what it's about? To make sure that we can excite them to continue the learning process all the way until adulthood. And I think Einstein said it best: intellectual growth, he said, should commence at birth and cease only at death. And I think that's such a great quote, because I think it's so true that if we can find ways to get students excited about becoming lifelong learners, we have done our job. And so PBS continues to invest in content, and as you'll see on this slide, it's really changing the way we think about how we deliver the content. Started with the on-air programming, into online platforms, now mobile devices, and now through PBS Learning Media for Classroom, which is our primary portal for educators to access all this PBS content that you've been using over the years. So the content includes lesson plans, primary source documents, videos, interactives. We have 100,000 resources now on PBS Learning Media, and that number will continue to grow. And as Ruth mentioned, sometimes it can be a little daunting. Not only are you inundated with all these new tools and new resources you can use through all these different professional development sessions you go to, just on PBS Learning Media alone, there's 100,000 resources. So how do you sift through all that? Well, we make sure that it's very easy to search the content, and it's becoming easier. We continue to evolve the search functionality so it's even easier for you as a teacher to find the content that you want to use in your classroom. Standards aligned resources you'll find on PBS Learning Media. The content is aligned to Common Core standards and the national benchmarks for individual subject areas. But then as a custom service user, you have the state standards alignment as well for the Michigan state standards. And just to highlight the custom features, which you'll have access to now for the year, additional premium resources, as I mentioned, the 10,000 additional resources, the state standards alignment, then a content management system. So if there's someone that you want to identify at your school to help you with the uploading of all your teachers, it's very easy through the content management system. And even as your localized custom service, you can even start bringing in some of your own content if you want to ingest some of your own lesson plans as a teacher, as a school. I generally say it's really nice to identify one or two people that might be doing that, so you don't have a flood of information coming into the system without kind of having some checks and balances there. But you also have user management tools. You have enhanced analytics to see how teachers in the school, in the district, are using PBS Learning Media. What are some of the popular resources, so that you can push that out to teachers and say, hey, check this out. It seems like teachers throughout the district are using this really great STEM content. And then you also have free training and updates about the service and the content. And just to feature once again that additional content, that's a lot of full-length episodes, 10,000 additional resources, everything from the Ken Burns series to American Experience. Anyone familiar with Design Squad? Design Squad, someone up here. I'll highlight that in just a bit, but it's a really, really great series to help students think about the design process and think about how to solve a problem and work through the steps of the design process and create prototypes and create solutions to these real-world problems. So Design Squad, you'll see a lot of early childhood content with full-length episodes, and I'll show you what that looks like. Very briefly here, I want to just give you a little taste of a piece of content that you'll find on PBS Learning Media. And a quick question.
This works on all devices, operating systems?
Yes, good question. It works on all operating systems. One thing to note is with the iPads, some of our interactives do require Flash. So if you have a browser conversion, like I think Puffin is one that's out there, you can convert those so they work on the iPad. So just note that if you have iPads, that some of the interactives do require Flash. So, great question, but device compatible as well. So this clip here is from our holidays collection. Anyone know what's coming up on August 19th? Any guesses? I had no idea either. August 19th is National Aviation Day, and I hear there's an event here in Detroit soon with the air show coming up, maybe around that time as well. So this is from the holidays collection. We've created a collection around all the different holidays throughout the year, and we're continuing to add more videos of the different holidays throughout the year. And let's watch this one around National Aviation Day.
National Aviation Day is observed on August 19th. The birth...
Oh, sorry. Let's start that again.
National Aviation Day is observed on August 19th, the birthday of a man named Orville Wright. Orville, along with his brother Wilbur, invented the first successful airplane that could stay in the air and be controlled. Their historic first flight took place on December 17, 1903. No longer was human flight considered impossible. Soon, U.S. airmail and scheduled passenger airline service took off. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh, a U.S. airmail pilot, made the first solo flight without stopping across the Atlantic Ocean. And in 1932, Amelia Earhart, another pioneer, was the first woman to fly alone without stopping across the Atlantic. Lindbergh and Earhart got people excited about flying and became American heroes. In 1939, President Franklin Roosevelt established National Aviation Day on August 19th as a way to celebrate these achievements. Now, each year, citizens are invited to explore flight by visiting an aviation museum or enjoying activities that teach us about aviation. Have you ever wanted to pilot an airplane?
So I know it might not pertain to all of the subject levels that you teach, or grade levels or subject areas, but could some of you see yourselves using that in your classroom? I think what I love about this clip, and from a lot of the clips that you'll see on PBS Learning Media, is that it's just short enough to be the hook for students, to spark that curiosity for them to dig deeper into this subject. I think the clip moves along fast enough to keep their attention. There's some really great animations, and there's some great historical figures that are brought up. And the thing that I love about the end is that it poses a question to the students. I think too often we see students not asking enough questions in our classroom. So this might be that spark to help them think more about the questions that they ask and the questions that they want to dig into as they explore their own learning. So, like in that clip, we really want students to be inspired to investigate and visualize. Investigate primary source documents, visualize data, to draw conclusions on their own and think about what are the skills they need to be curious about the world that's in front of them, to ask questions, become problem solvers of the world that they're entering. To experiment and play through the interactives that we have on PBS Learning Media. They can play along at their own pace and discover these different themes at their own pace and find ones that might spark other interest in a subject areas. And I don't think we see enough play in our classrooms. So this might be another way to bring play into your classroom through some of the interactive and games that you find on the site. And then examine and question. Examine artifacts, examine works of art. I know it's tough nowadays to take students out on a field trip to a museum. So this is another way to bring those experiences to your students through the galleries, the images that they'll find on the site, the artifacts, to explore those and then be provided with some great discussion questions to kick off a lesson around those images. Journey and explore new countries and learn about new cultures. We have some great global awareness collections on PBS Learning Media and preparing these students to be global citizens. And then last but not least, what a great way to bring Nobel laureates into your classroom, to bring scientists, engineers, but through digital media. A great way for students to access those experts and develop those skills and think about the skills they will need to do a lot of these same careers that they see on video. And knowing not only are our students' needs changing as they're using technology and digital media, that your classrooms are changing in the 21st century. And so this comes from the MacArthur Research Network on Connected Learning, as they ask two questions. How are young people changing as a result of constant exposure to digital media? And how should learning institutions and environments change? So going from knowing to the doing. So these all are connected as I think about the support materials we have on PBS Learning Media. Not only will you find the videos, the interactives, primary source documents, you're going to find support materials for you to think about ways you can engage your students in deeper learning. How you can extend this media into a hands-on experience, a project-based learning experience. So it's not just about consuming that information, but actually having an experience where they translate that digital world into a physical environment. Knowing that it has to change from a teacher-centered focus where it's just the lecturing into a student-centered focus as well, so that they have some voice in the themes that they're learning, the topics that they're learning and investigating. And I think digital media and PBS Learning Media is a great way to offer that aspect to students. Thinking about how we translate the individual skills to a team-based collaboration, and thinking that, you know, to solve some of the biggest problems in our world, we're going to have to think together and work together and collaborate as groups to invent the next big product to solve some of these problems, or come up with the next big strategy to solve some of these problems. So we have these resources on PBS Learning Media that will help students come together and collaborate and work as a team. And then last but not least, as I mentioned, the consumption of information to the construction of meaning. So helping students think not only as the consumers of this media when they sit in front of a television, that they're not just passive viewers, but really how can they translate that into an experience where they're really understanding the material. And so these support materials you'll find on PBS Learning Media will help initiate that in your classroom. And so last but not least here, I just want to note that as we're thinking about all the new content that's coming into PBS Learning Media, and this comes from some of the project-based learning strategies, we want to make sure that content is practical, usable, and memorable for you and for your students, so that they can take it to the next level, they can engage deeper with it, and not only will it spark their curiosity, but it will be the impetus to find out more about a topic or a theme and learn more, become those lifelong learners that we hope that they will become. And so also I have this slide there that shows that it is device compatible platform, making sure that it's usable on all of the devices that students are using and the technology that students are using. And now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the features of PBS Learning Media. And so I have a slide here that shows the home page, and this is our national homepage, but this is the homepage that you'll see when you come to PBS Learning Media for the first time if you're not already logged into the site. And so with that big orange box, that's where you want to tap Register Now if you're not already a member of PBS Learning Media, a registered user. And just know that, like I said, based on the emails that you provided, if you haven't already registered, just make sure that you use that email that you provided for the workshop registration, and then you're going to set up your profile. And that will be the next page after going into the Register Now. You'll be asked to create a username, a password, and then update your profile. And you can follow along with me. We'll also have time, of course, after lunch to dive deeper into this and really create your registration if you encounter any issues right now. One thing to note is when you are updating your profile, make sure that you indicate that you're a teacher or that you're an administrator. Just note what role you have in your school or in your classroom, because that helps us to know if you're able to create these digital storyboards, create the lessons, because students have to have some extra steps they take in order to create a digital storyboard. They have to be over the age of 13, and so we just need to know that your role is as an educator. And so right there you'll see the URL for your local DPTV site. Once again, if it's your first time coming to PBS Learning Media, you can just go directly to PBS Learning Media, and then through the login process, you'll automatically be directed to the DPTV custom site. Any questions about this first part as we await the next steps of moving into the live site? Let me.
So I was already a member.
Yes.
And then this custom part that you're speaking about, will I see that on my homepage?
Great question. You will not see any drastically different look of the home page, but it's the features that I'll go into as far as the state standards. So when you're browsing, you'll see that you have state standards. You'll see the additional content. So I'll show you as we walk through the features how you'll know that you're in your custom service. And if for some reason you don't have the access to the custom service today because maybe you registered later, or you walked into the event today, we'll make sure you get access to that. But you're going to see a lot of this, the content today anyway, even if you don't have the custom service, but you won't have the state standards yet. But we'll make sure you get those before you leave today. One more question back there.
Is there any way that the rest of us can get online, look at online?
Great question.
We are currently working on it. He's creating a new link. As soon as it pops up, I will alert you. It's not done yet. He's creating a new area to log in. Yeah, he's gonna take us off the new one.
So we'll get you set up with the internet in just a bit, but I promise you as we go along here, you'll see all the features, and then we'll make sure that you, when you have some hands-on time today with your devices in the afternoon, we'll make sure we answer any of those other questions that you have. So when you come to PBS Learning Media for the first time and you log in to your localized site, you're going to see that Detroit Public Television header right there. So that's how you know you're in your custom PBS Learning Media site. Some features to note here as we walk through the home page. This About section, to answer our question back there, this is the section that you want to check out for the FAQ, the training. The events page is going to be very helpful for you as well because we do lead monthly PBS Learning Media 101 training. So if you want to sign up for one of those, I encourage you to do so. Some webinars that are already posted there for the fall, so check those out. This dashboard here, we'll go into that a little deeper in a bit, but this is where you can access those favorites, those resources that you've curated for yourself, for your colleagues. You can also update your profile for at any point. If you want to change your password or forget your password, go to your profile and it can be reset. And then the tools can be accessed here. Those are those digital storyboards and the lesson builder tool that I mentioned, and we'll take a look at those. And then the student view is new feature of PBS Learning Media. It's pbsstudents.org. It's just a student-facing site that has all the great PBS Learning Media content, but we've taken away the professional development content from teachers. We've taken away some of those resources only to our educators. So pbsstudents.org has the resources that they can find through the PBS Learning Media site. Scrolling down, you'll see that we have a number of ways to access the content or search the content. You can browse by standards. I'll come back to that in a moment. You can browse by grade and subject area. So if we click the little caret there, you can see that you can filter out by grade level, by subject area, everything from the arts to professional development, social studies listed there. And then you can do a keyword search. And once again, this is where I say put on that thesaurus hat and make sure that you try different combinations. If you have a phrase that you're searching for, use quotation marks, or a particular show that you're searching for, use quotation marks. Below that, you'll see any national announcements that we have around this time. We have our summer campaign going on with reading, and right now it's a summer of reading. If you click on that, you'll see that we have resources that help prevent the summer slide. We have a summer reading list for students. And so that's any national announcements you'll find there, so any webinars as well that might be coming up. We have this feature well in the center that will highlight new content that's been brought into PBS Learning Media. And then below that, you'll have these subject-specific tiles. Science, social studies, math, English language arts that are updated daily with content that you can use in your classroom around those specific subject areas. More information at the bottom for announcements. And I am going to type in a keyword to show you how the search functions work. So let's type in the keyword magnet. When you type in your keyword, you're just going to press enter, and that will take you to the search results. Slowly but surely. There we go. So on the left-hand side of the page, I'm just going to walk through some of the filtering options you have to find the content that's most relevant for you and your students. Looks like the images are loading just a bit slowly here with as many people as we have online. But you can always turn images off if you do have some difficulty with loading speeds. Bless you. You can also sort the content by relevance, by alphabetical order, by newest to oldest content, or most viewed, or most popular content. On the left-hand side, you have those additional filtering features. So you can filter by grade level. You can drill down by subject area, and these plus signs will allow you to drill down even farther into a particular subject. Just a little slow at the loading speeds, but you'll see that that's allows you to drill down into the subject areas. And then the media type, this is everything from the primary source documents to the interactives to the videos. Everything that will be listed there is the media types we have available for that keyword search. We also have content that is translated into Spanish. So for any of you that are teaching Spanish or have Spanish speakers and would like to highlight that content, you can drill down your results to only show the content that's translated into Spanish. So you'll see there, it just took a little bit of time to load, but the English language arts, I clicked the plus sign, and that drilled down even farther into literacy subject area. Scrolling down, you'll see that this accessibility feature, for anyone looking for content that has audio descriptions or closed captions, this is where you can filter out that content. Below that is of particular interest to anyone that might be doing a flipped classroom experience for your students. Is anyone flipping their classroom, creating their own videos for students to view at home? Anyone doing that? Oh, over here, thank you. So with this permitted use filter, you can see what content has a stream-only permitted use, meaning that you can only show that content in the classroom through streaming. The stream, download, and share feature, for anyone that is encountering bandwidth issues, you can download that content at home, bring it in class the next day, and it will have the tag with the download option. For the sharing option for that permitted use too, if you want to share the content on your own web page, on your own learning management system, you can do so with anything that has that stream, download, share, and modify tag, or the stream, download, and share. And then for our flipped classroom teacher over here, if you are creating your own videos, or if your students want to be the creators of content themselves and want to embed some of PBS Learning Media's content into their videos, into their creations, into their digital storyboards, it's that stream, download, share, and modify, so that students actually have the ability to manipulate some of the resources or the video content that they find on PBS Learning Media. But you just have to make sure if they're doing that, that it has that stream, download, share, and modify tag. And then right below that, you'll see this Detroit Public TV custom pilot content. And that is, once again, how you'll know that you are in your custom service. And so you can filter out all those premium resources that align to a particular keyword search that you conducted, and you'll see only the premium content if you check that box right there. Any questions about the filtering features or the search features of the keyword? I want to take us into a resource at this point so you can see what a resource page looks like. And it may take just a moment here to get us into the magnetic microbots. So magnetic microbots is one of my favorite videos. It's from David Pogue's Making Stuff Smaller, the series. And so he goes into a lab where they're creating a microbot that uses magnets to cure a form of blindness in the eye. So you'll see here there is a short description and the title at the top of the page. And then we have a new star rating system, so you can see how educators have rated this content, and you can provide your own rating as well. Scrolling down, you'll see in the video itself, this is one that has closed captions. So if you click the little closed caption box there in the left-hand corner, you'll see your options for formatting the closed captions. You can choose font size, different colors for the font, different styles for the font. Below the video, you'll see that this is downloadable content. So if you click the download button, a short checkbox will appear there. Just agree and accept those terms, and then you'll be able to download the file. It will come up as a zip file that you can put on your desktop, put on a thumb drive to bring to class the next day. Oh, sure. Yes. So closed captions are right up here in the left-hand corner. And it might look a little different on your cell phone, and we can take a look at that during the break. But the little link is right there for anything that has the closed caption option in the left-hand corner. And you can also toggle right here between the English and Spanish. And as you'll see, this is one of our resources that has the Spanish content. Support materials. This is what I mentioned earlier about how we contextualize the videos, the interactives, the media that you'll find on PBS Learning Media. So in this case, there's an activity where students can create their very own microbot. It's a PDF that appears that you can print off and put at a center for your students perhaps, or send home for your students to create their own microbot. And there's also a PDF here where students can take a deeper dive into material science. So it's a worksheet where students can learn more about what scientists, engineers go through when creating products. Below that, you'll see that we have the educational standards listed here. We have the national standards. So if you click that plus sign, you'll see the benchmarks for science literacy. We are ingesting the next generation science standards as well. That'll be coming later in the year. And then, because you have that custom service, you have the state standards alignment. So if you click that plus sign right next to state standards, you will see all the standards that this particular resource aligns to. You'll also see right here on the right-hand side, you might also like other suggestions for resources that might go along with this particular topic or theme. Here on the left-hand side, scrolling back at the top, you'll see that there are some icons on the left-hand side of the resource. This top one will indicate what kind of media type you're looking at. In this case, it's the video. The support materials, if you come to a resource page, if you just click that will drop you right down to the bottom of the page to see the support materials. This little heart icon, that is how you will indicate a resource as one of your favorites. Right now it's clicked red because I already have it in my favorites folder. If you click that icon, it will appear red, and that puts it directly into your favorites folder, and I'll show you how to access that. And last but not least here, we have the share button, and that will allow you to share this particular resource on social media. And you can also pull up a link that will take teachers directly to this resource. So if you don't want to put in your favorites necessarily, maybe it's a great resource for one of your colleagues, just click the share icon. A link will appear for social media or for your email, and send it out to your colleague. Say that again? The embed code, there's not an embed code. It will bring them to the actual link of PBS Learning Media. So if it's a resource, if it's a colleague of yours, they'll have custom because they're at your school, so they'll be able to see the custom service resources. If it's a colleague that doesn't have the custom service and it's one of the premium resources, they will not be able to see that premium resource, but if it's one of the resources that's just part of the basic service, they will see that resource if you share that out. If we go back to the home page, I just want to quickly highlight in the Browse Standards. Once again, that's the home page, and then under the Detroit Public Television header there, click Browse Standards, and this is another way to search the content just via the standards. So you have the Common Core state standards, national standards, and now the state standards with your custom service. Choose that as the type of standards. More drop-down menus will appear, so you can select Michigan as your authority, and then you'll see the different documents here for the standards that are here in Michigan. So if we go to the curriculum framework or the early childhood standards for quality preschool, I'll go to that one, and we click Browse. You'll see all the standards for that particular document. And if you click one of these, we'll begin to develop writing skills to communicate and express themselves. You'll be taken into the resources that align to that standard. And you'll see once again, anything that has a premium tag right here at the top of the resource, that's part of your custom service, and that's what you have access to now. Now remember how we favorited a resource on the resource page by clicking the heart icon? You also have that option right on the search results here. Right there is the heart icon as well. So if you click that, that will also put that resource into your favorites folder. And where is our favorites folder, you might ask? If we go back to our dashboard and scroll down to favorites and folders, you'll see that I have begun curating some favorites. And this is what your favorites and folders page is going to look like as you begin to curate your own. At the very top of the page, you'll see a link to all of your favorites. So those will be listed right in the center of the page. Anything that you highlight with the heart icon will be put right into this folder and will appear in this long list of favorites. Below that is a list of folders I began to create so that I could put the resources into the different subject-specific folders. And I'll show you how to create that in a moment. Another great feature about the favorites folder is this ability to add an outside link. So if there is an outside web page or an outside document that you want to include in your favorites folder or then put into one of your subject-specific folders, all you do is you give it a title, you copy and paste in the external link section right there, and then you can write notes about how you want to use this external link as part of your lesson. So later in the day, you'll be able to create your own folders and really begin to build out those lessons for the coming year.
Is there anything that you share, anything that you have in your folders, are all shareable?
Yes, so anything that you have in your, if it's curated into a particular folder or curated as your favorites, you can share that out. Great question. Say that again? The note will not go, it will go in if you type it in your folder section. I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment here. It will go in the email, right. So if we go to now creating a folder, all we'll do is click this button right here, Add New Folder. This is where you'll give it a name, a description, and this is where your person that you're sharing with, your colleague that you're sharing with, this is the description they would see when you give a description for your specific folder. So you would say Add New Folder. You could give your folder a name, a description. You would save that folder. Once you save it, it will appear in this long list of folders right here on the left-hand side of the page. To add a resource into a folder, all we're going to do is click that resource there, and we're going to say Add to Folder right here at the top. And then you'll see your list of folders that you can add that resource to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that into my engineering folder. It will automatically be put into the folders that you have listed here, the one that you indicate into the Add to Folder section. At any point, you can delete any of the resources in your favorites or in your folders just by highlighting it there with the check mark and then delete resource. Now, if we go into our folders here, one way to see a full list of all your folders and begin managing that folder is to go into this Manage Folders button. This will give you that full list of folders that you've created. And then now to share out a folder to one of your colleagues, you're going to click the little pencil icon right there. And that will allow you to first edit any descriptions that you have or titles. And then right below that is the share icon. So say I want to share my 6th grade inventor and design unit. I click that share icon, and the full URL will appear that you can send out to a colleague. Yes?
That was my question. Say if I have a video or a lesson plan, how would your colleagues or say students, I plan advising for the entire student.
Yes.
And I want to connect some diversity videos you guys would send weekly to be shared school-wide. How would that be done?
So you could put that link on your web page if you share it through a web page, or if you have a newsletter, you can share it through that. If you have an LMS, you could share that link out through those channels, and your students, your colleagues would be able to go into that link and then see those resources. Now, if they wanted to add them to their own favorites, they could very easily do that. They could just check the resources that they want to include into their favorites then. You're welcome. The premium content will be, if your school has the custom service, which they will, since you are attending this, they'll have that 1 year. They'll see all the premium content as well once we get their names uploaded into the system. And that's the next step after attending today, is to getting those names uploaded. And we'll make sure you have the whole process for doing that. Great. Yes?
Once you put a favorite in the folder, is it no longer listed under the favorite, just in the folder?
No, it's still listed in the favorite. Great question. So if you do curate it into one of those individual folders, it will still appear in the long list of favorites. Fantastic question. Any other questions regarding the curation of favorites? I know this is a lot of information to take in, and a lot if you aren't able to follow along with me necessarily, but I am going to be walking around during this afternoon session making sure I answer any questions that you have. Are people able to follow along with me, or not on your screen? Okay.
Okay, I'm just wondering how often I should keep
Try
trying to.
it.
I just really, it appears that I'm on.
It appears you're on when you load it. Okay.
I don't remember how it was logging.
Okay. So we'll still work on getting those Wi-Fi devices and the codes for you. So. And there's a new open one. If you saw it, it's not working for you either. Okay. Right. We have so many in the room. Well, like I said too, I will make sure that we have resources available to you all when you leave here today, so that you can follow along with any of the these self-paced trainings that I have as well. So this next section, no need to have any devices to follow along, because I'm really going to do a content showcase. I'm going to do a show and tell of some of the content you'll find on PBS Learning Media. If you remember, I gave you a little taste of what you'll find with the Holidays collection. But I'm going to show a range of content starting with our early learners all the way through high school. So the first one I want to highlight is the Curious George STEM collection. This is a fantastic collection around the STEM subject areas, using Curious George as our character and the videos from the series. How many of you are familiar with Curious George or have used Curious George? Maybe who's not familiar with Curious George, right? Yes. And I think he goes along great with the theme that we're thinking about today, how to spark that curiosity in students. So you'll see in this collection, and this is just another way that we curate resources for you at PBS. We create these collections, and I can show you when we go back into our search results. If you filter for media type, collections will appear as one of the filter options. I was talking to Georgianne yesterday, one of the teachers that I've spoken to in the past. She used this as a way to introduce a lesson about ramps, and then she divided her classroom into stations, and she used QR codes at each station. And does everyone know what a QR code or familiar with the QR code? It's an image that you'll see very often on products that has kind of the square and the scrambled image. And so if you get a QR reader on your device, you can take an image of that, a picture of that, and it will pop up a web page. So what she did is she had them watch this video, and then she had the stations. Each one was connected to a different QR code where the students had to create the ramp that was shown in the image from the QR code. So kind of a cool way to, once again, translate the digital media into a hands-on experience for students. Down here with the support materials, as I mentioned, you'll see there's a background essay for you to dig deeper into this topic, and then there's teaching tips as well. So there's a full lesson plan that goes along with this video and then most of the Curious George STEM videos where you can either integrate this lesson into your classroom, or you can send this home with students so that they can dive deeper into it with their parents as well, our families. So that's this Curious George STEM collection. Another one I want to highlight, anyone familiar with PEG plus CAT? PEG plus CAT is a fantastic series around math concepts. So I just typed in PEG plus CAT for our early learners. I did quotation marks there so that you'll find the series. And if we scroll down to media type, this is where I mentioned you'll find that collection. So for PEG plus CAT, since it's one of our popular series, we've created a collection of videos that highlight different math subjects. So if we go into the PEG plus CAT, you'll see that we have these subcategories for numbers and counting, geometry, measurement, and spatial sense. So you can investigate videos that go along with these different topics in mathematics for your early childhood classroom. So PEG plus CAT, a great series to check out. If you want to make note of these as we go along, please do so. Pre-K through 2, correct. So this is earlier, let's see if this streams.
Let's play some music!
Earlier, one of our friends at DPTV mentioned the Daniel Tiger episode where he gets so mad and he sings a song. So here's the song.
Take a deep breath and count to 4. I wanted to play with the triangle, but someone picked it first, and that made me mad. Really, really mad. When you feel so mad that you wanna roar, take a deep breath and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can take turns.
So I know this is something I have to stop and think about very often as I use technology, and it doesn't always work the way you want it to work. Just take a deep breath and count to 4, right? Like Daniel Tiger suggests. Back there, yes?
I know earlier you said something about, save things to your favorites or your account. Can you show, I wasn't on at the time, now that I'm on, can I see it?
Yes, and for any of you that were able to get on, just to highlight that again on this particular resource, if you want to put this into your favorites folder, just click that little heart icon, and that will curate it into your favorites. Great, thanks for just anytime you have a question and want me to step back, I can do so. And then that will go into your dashboard and then favorites and folders, and you'll see that in the full list. So Daniel Tiger, another wonderful series for our early learners. And this is a great collection of teaching tips for using educational media in your early childhood classrooms, developed by Boston University School of Education. And this is the PBS Kids Lab. And so you'll see some great professional development around how to use the additional pieces of content that you find on PBS Learning Media for early learners. So check out the PBS Kids Lab. I talked about the premium content and how a lot of that content is full-length episodes. One of the series that you'll find in just the custom service for the premium content is Arthur. Arthur the Aardvark. Who knows Arthur? Who loves Arthur? Some great issues brought about in this series around health and learning about social emotional development. So great series to check out, especially as you look into those additional resources you have. The Electric Company. Anyone have some good memories of the Electric Company? Yes. Wonderful series for language arts, elementary language arts skills. And here you'll see even some professional development modules for you and your colleagues on how to use this content in the classroom. Scrolling down, you'll see the subtopics around decoding for consonant blends, digraphs, subtopics around vocabulary skills, and then comprehension and connected text, and then motivation. So great videos, interactives to explore in the Electric Company collection. And once again, if you search Electric Company using the quotation marks, you then can search those collections. Anyone familiar with Martha Speaks for our early learners? Yes, another great series for vocabulary acquisition. Martha the dog eats alphabet soup and is able to speak. The wondrous world of television and media. So students are able to develop some new vocabulary through these videos. And you'll see there they all have those premium tags, so that's part of that custom collection. Just to give you a look at an interactive, what that kind of media looks like on PBS Learning Media. This is called All Systems Are Go, and this is upper elementary, maybe even lower middle school. This might have difficulty loading here with our speeds, but this is an interactive that students could use at a center as a self-paced experience. They have to identify the different body parts and drag those in. It will give them a unfortunately, it won't pull up right now, but you'll see there an image of what it looks like. But it will ask for all the organs of the digestive tract or the skeletal system. And the students have to identify those organs and pull them in, and it will let them know if they got the answer correct. That's an interactive. Oh, I hear it. Yes, it's working. It's kind of this Frankenstein character, or the monster from Frankenstein, so great interactives to check out. The Odd Squad, as we think about elementary math. Anyone familiar with the Odd Squad? It's one of our new series that came out this past winter. The Odd Squad uses math and storytelling. So it's actors who are portraying these kind of zany characters, Otto and Olive, and they encounter some really interesting conundrums, and they have to solve these problems using math skills. So you'll see here, like the other collections I've highlighted, this is also divided up into these subtopics, so you can explore comparing numbers, geometry, and all of these videos will have Olive and Otto and their friends as they explore these different math concepts. Here's another interactive. This is around helping students think about the language arts subject area and helping them with inferencing. And so this is the Detective's Notebook, a great interactive. So something to pull up. I'm not going to test it out because I think we're still encountering some of the slow speeds there, but oh, there you go. So this is the interactive, the Detective Notebook, and students will actually get to go through this game, read the clues in the notebook, and help with their inferencing skills and prediction skills.
Notebook and figure out what happened by inferring, or what is going to happen by predicting.
So this is identified as K through 3. And you'll see that little tag right here in the info section on the resource page as the indicator of what grade level it's for. Any math teachers out there? Yes, we have some wonderful math resources. This is one I'm going to highlight. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but we work with over 200 producers for our content in PBS Learning Media. The one that you saw earlier with the holiday, the Aviation Day, that's from one of our independent producers creating some new content. We also work, of course, with our local PBS stations to bring in content that they're producing. This is from a group called Kornhaber Brown, and this is the I Heart Math collection. I think these are really fun, fast-paced videos that capture the attention of our upper elementary and middle school students. And just to highlight some of this kind of quirky, fast-paced production values, we'll show this one.
This is you, and you probably already experienced numbers that are less than 0.
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah? What about when your friend Raul bought you that guitar so you could start a rock band, and then you owed him $80? On a number line, that's a negative number.
Where's my money?
Or the time you tried to write that Twitter post when your sister turned into a zombie. You were so scared that you totally went over the character limit. That's another negative number. You can tell because it has the negative sign in front of it. Or how about when your jetpack stopped working and you fell into a ditch 18 feet below the ground? That's also a negative number. Now do you believe me?
Yes, make it stop.
Oh, we're not done yet. You see, we use negative numbers all the time. Like when it gets insanely cold outside and the temperature is way below 0. Again, see the negative sign in front of the temperature? That's how we know it's less than 0. Now, you wouldn't want to go riding on a dolphin in this weather, but when we get to the opposite, positive temperature, that sounds like a great idea. Opposite numbers are an equal distance from 0, but on opposite sides of the number line. And though it's a little weird, we always write the negative sign, but we don't always write the positive sign. So here's the big thing to remember. All the whole numbers on a number line and their negative opposites are called integers. What are they called?
Integers.
Great, now get back on that dolphin. As you can see, we can use the integers to represent our dolphin ride above and below sea level. When Flipper jumps out of the water really high, we're in the positive. And when he swims real deep, we're in the negative. And those, my friends, are positive and negative integers. Any questions?
Where's my money?
Can some of you see yourselves using that content? I think it's just quirky enough for our middle schoolers. It uses some Twitter references, social media references. It's fast-paced. But again, it gets a difficult concept that maybe textbooks alone can't impart to students through a fun and innovative way to engage learners. Here's the design squad that I mentioned earlier. Once again, these are videos that show students actually grappling with problems and having to solve these problems through collaboration, to create prototypes, to create strategies, to answer questions. So we have a lot of work around design thinking, I think, being done now in our schools with professional development as well. So helping students begin learning some of those skills that are needed to design the solutions to our next big problems. And we have this custom collection here as well. And you would see this, of course, as your custom service. And this will take you into full-length episodes of Design Squad for the 2 seasons and any other content that's not part of the basic service around the Design Squad Nation series. I was going to do this, but I think for the sake of time, Mixie's Boogie Buffet is really fun. This Fizzy's Lunch Lab is a fun collection on PBS Kids, but it's this is a great brain break. Maybe we do need a brain break. I don't know. Do we need to stand up and move, or would you rather keep going on with our professional development? But this is a great one for students if they need that brain break. They get to create their own dance, and all the dance moves are focused around food-related accessories for the kitchen. So there's a mixer where they have to do a mixing move. There's a stirring move. So it's kind of a fun interactive that they can put together a dance. Inspiring Middle School Literacy is a wonderful collection created by our team at WGBH. The PBS Learning Media is a partnership with our WGBH Education Foundation out of Boston. And this Inspiring Middle School Literacy really explores the language arts skills with these different topics listed on the side here. mathematics topics, science and health. These are self-paced lessons where students have the opportunity to look at videos that are embedded. There's vocabulary words that they can explore. They can write their very own essay based on a discussion question at the end of the self-paced lesson. So a really great resource for any of you middle school language arts teachers. In that same vein, we have the Math at the Core middle school collection. So fun, topical, relevant videos for students to explore math concepts in the middle school grade level. That's Math at the Core. And now, another one I wanted to highlight was our U.S. Presidency collection. We have built out a collection of 1-minute presidents, 60-second presidents, profiling each of our presidents. I have the one for Gerald Ford, of course, pulled up here, and let's just take a look at this.
In 1973, Gerald Ford was thinking about retirement, but Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned in a bribery scandal. Ford, the top Republican in the House of Representatives, agreed to be his replacement. And then in 1974, President Nixon resigned in the Watergate scandal. Most presidents start the job with an inspirational speech. Ford told the country that our long national nightmare is over. Public confidence in the presidency was shot, and not just because of Watergate. Many people thought that Nixon and Lyndon Johnson had dangerously expanded presidential power through their conduct of the Vietnam War. Ford had made his job tougher when he gave Nixon a pardon for any Watergate-related crimes. The public was furious. He had to deal with the press like no other president before him, and they portrayed him as a bumbling fool. In the end, Ford held his own. He eventually settled on a policy of tax cuts to help the economy deal with bouts of inflation and unemployment. He agreed to a few increases in federal spending passed by the overwhelmingly Democratic Congress. With people worrying about an energy crisis, he worked out a deal meant to boost U.S. oil production. Most importantly, he was a humble and honest guy, which was exactly what the country needed. He lost to Jimmy Carter in 1976, but even Carter admitted that Ford had helped the nation heal.
So that's just a glimpse of the 60-second president videos, one, of course, for each president. This Secret Life of Scientists and Engineers for any of you high school science teachers, a great series that explores the field of science and engineering, and students get to hear from real-life scientists, engineers. It brings Neil deGrasse Tyson into your classroom. It brings Mayim Bialik, if you remember her from Blossom, and now she's a very knowledgeable scientist, physicist. So this is a great collection as we talk about ways to bring these experts and access to experts into your classroom. So that's the Secret Life of Scientists and Engineers. I remember back here in the last table we had someone that said they use American Experience. So the American Experience collection here is part of your premium content. So anytime you search the American Experience, you'll find the videos that are some of your favorite episodes that you're already using in your classroom. And then we have this American Experience, we have a custom collection too for American Experience. The War of 1812 is one that I brought up here because I love this series from Crash Course. Anyone familiar with the Crash Course series? If you are a high school teacher, your students might already be watching some of these. For a long time, they were only available on YouTube. And this is John Green and his brother. They call themselves the Vlog Brothers. John Green wrote Fault in Our Stars and the new movie, which was one of his older books, Paper Towns, I think, is the newest movie. But he and his brother dissect some of the great events in history, some of the great pieces of literature in these short 8 to 10 minute videos. And so it's kind of a cliff notes for some of these historical events. Maybe another great way to have the flipped classroom experience for some of your students to watch at home before they come to class the next day to have a deeper discussion around these topics. That's Crash Course, and once again, we do have a collection for that series. One more interactive I wanted to show from the National Archives, and we have a lot of resources from the National Archives and Library of Congress. What I like about this is it gives a visualization of primary source documents for students as they grapple with this question, what kind of leader was General Douglas MacArthur? And if we start the activity, you'll see that there's a visual for this kind of seesaw where students can actually look at the primary source documents. They can zoom in and take a look at these documents as they build out an argument to answer this question, what kind of leader was General MacArthur? And so they can pull these down for their interpretation 1. They can pull it down for interpretation 2. So it's really giving them a voice in making a decision and grappling with this question and coming to a conclusion on their own. So that's the what kind of leader was General Douglas MacArthur interactive. For any of our arts educators out there, once again, that's a special place in my heart. We have KQED from San Francisco producing wonderful content for visual arts, for performing arts. They have a collection called KQED Art School. So you'll see a lot of videos around the different subjects in art, and then artists actually working to create some of their masterpieces. Yes? Yes. Yes, so you can either email the link for students, or if, like I said, if you have that learning management system that your students are accessing, you can give them the link to the individual resource. If it has that share icon, you could actually embed it into a web page that you might have. So it works the same way, though, for students to access that content. And they're going to be able to access that content on pbsstudents.org. And I'll take us to that here at the very end so you can see what that student-facing site looks like. But it's in the same way that you would share with your colleagues. It's just really the channel for which you share that out to your students. Does that answer the question? Any? Can you share a whole folder? Yes, you can share that whole folder with students as well, just like you would with your colleagues. And one other collection I want to make sure I highlight, because it's around this idea of providing topical, relevant content. This is our daily news story provided by PBS NewsHour Extra. Each day, they create a video around the most topical or relevant trending news story. And so they'll have a clip of that news story. They'll have discussion questions that go along with that news story. They'll have an essay topic that students can dive deeper into creating their own conclusion around that news story. So that is the daily news story. And I'm going to hold off on the tools for right before we break into our groups, because I think that's too much to take in right now. But I do want to go to pbsstudents.org, just so you can see the student-facing website. So you'll see it looks a little different. Students do not need to be a registered user in order to check out this website or to check out the resources in this website. If it's a custom resource that you are sharing out with your students, I will say you want to include that in your lesson that you create or in a digital storyboard so that they can see that custom resource. If it's from the basic service, it doesn't have that premium tag, they can see that, no problem at all. But if it does have the premium icon on it, you will need to share that out through the digital storyboard or the lesson, and that's what I'll show right before we break into our groups this afternoon. So I just typed in pbsstudents.org, and if you're already logged into your account through DPTV, you'll just be directed to the localized Detroit Public TV pbsstudents.org website. And you'll see it's just a little different look, a little more eye-catching for students, and then once again, they will not have access to the professional development resources or any of those other resources that would pertain only to educators. Yes, we have a question back here. The code is for those lessons and digital storyboards, and I'll show that to you right before we break into our groups, because that's really going to give you an opportunity to create some of these for your own lessons. And that's where students would just enter a code that you provide them after you create a digital storyboard or a lesson, and then they'll be able to see that through that code. All grade levels. Would it be helpful to show that now, Ruth? I know we're, okay. No worries, great. So let's go back to our PBS Learning Media site. Now up here in the left-hand corner, taking just a moment here. There we go. Let's go to the dashboard. And this is where you're going to scroll down to your tools, right under the profile. So it's dashboard and then tools. You'll be taken to this page where you see the different tools that you're able to create. The lesson builder. This allows you to create that self-paced experience for your students. There's a quiz maker. The lesson builder allows you to incorporate PBS Learning Media content into that self-paced lesson. Quiz maker is just simply creating a self-paced lesson that has quiz questions without any of the media. And then the digital storyboard allows you to create that interactive web page for your students. So if we go into lesson builder, I'm going to show you what this looks like as you create a lesson. Simply click create a lesson. There's a video tutorial for any of you that like to watch a video and pause that as you go through the steps. I'm going to click create a lesson. You'll see the steps right there at the top. You give your lesson a title. Perhaps you're doing a lesson on ecosystems. Give your lesson that title. This is what students will see when they go into your lesson. You'll add instructions for your students. You can even add a hyperlink right here if you want them to be directed to an outside web page that they can investigate deeper, like a website maybe about a specific ecosystem. Perhaps there's a web page about the Arctic environment. So students could go and learn a little bit more about that and then come back to their lesson and watch some videos. So they would give a short description there that you type. And then you can add the media slides. So I would simply click select media type, and I'm going to add a media slide. I can give my slide a title, and then I would simply click to add media. And this is where you can search PBS Learning Media. And you'll see all the related resources that go along with that keyword search, but you can also search your favorites if there's a resource from your favorites that you want to put into your self-paced lesson. So let me click. I'm going to say more info. That would take me to the resource page itself if you want to investigate that deeper. Let me go back here. Then you would just add it to the lesson. That takes me back there, but sorry. You would add it to your lesson, and then it will go into the actual page. So you just click that image, add to slide, and it will go into your lesson that you've created. So once again, search for the media, click the image, and it will be put into your media slide. You can go ahead then and add questions for your self-paced lesson. You can add a fill in the blank, multiple choice, short answer. So if we click fill in the blank, you'll see simply put a blank space in the middle of the question where you want your students to answer. And then you would provide all the answers to that question. And that would show up in their self-paced experience. At any point, you can move around your media up or down and change the order of how the self-paced lesson looks. You would save that assignment, and it will go into, I didn't provide a title there or a description, but it would go into your assignments. And I'll show you where that is. It's right here, My Lessons. All the lessons that you've created will appear right here in My Lessons. If we click this little plus sign, I've created one about the sun. And now that plus sign will reveal a URL that you could send out to your students. You could put on your web page. You could send out to colleagues. The great question about the assignment code, this is where that comes in. So happy 495 is the assignment code attached to this lesson. If I go back to PBS students, I'm going to say enter code. Once again, they do not need to be registered users of the site to access this code. And this is where I mentioned too, if you have a custom resource that you want your students to see, put it in one of these lessons so that they can see this. This is what their self-paced experience would look like after entering that code, or going to the URL that you provide. They'd enter their name, they'd be able to see the instructions that you have for them, and then they'll be able to toggle back and forth between the media and then the questions. So there's a video about the anatomy of the sun, and then there's a question. So you could build out a very extensive self-paced experience for your students. And I have one here that was created by a teacher, and I'll come back to your question in just a second. And she created one on the ecosystem. She teaches gifted students in an elementary school. She created this first with the instructions. She had a section called Activate Your Schema. Before starting, think about what you may already know about the ecosystems, and she built in a question so students can insert text there. Then she began to build out her lesson with videos. This was created by Heidi Weber, one of our digital innovators who is a super user of PBS Learning Media. She's from Ohio. So there is the video from Dinosaur Train. After the students watch that, she has another question for them. Pause and think about what you learned from the video. They can begin their questions. What new learning have they just uncovered from this video around ecosystems? And so she's created this really nice, robust lesson around ecosystems. And then you had a question around the lesson builder.
Earlier you said that you had to be 13 years old in order for students to use it. Now elementary, they don't.
Great question. So the 13-year-old restriction is only if students want to create their own digital storyboard. Any content they want to search, they can search no matter their age. They don't have to be a registered user. Anytime you supply them with this code or an assignment you've created, they do not have, there's no age restriction because you've created that, you're sending it off to your students so that they can take one of these self-paced lessons. Great question. Yes?
How do you check their progress?
Fantastic question as well. So we'll go back to our lesson here. We can view results. And once again, this is right under your list of all the lessons. If you click View Results, you'll see a full summary right here. If you wanted to put this up on your smartboard, this first page is anonymous so that it would not be attached to any particular student's names. So the entire class could see how students are answering the questions. I'm coming to that great question. The students will then also be able, you as a teacher could see what students have completed this. And the spreadsheet is another way that you can download and export these. You can export them to Excel, a Google spreadsheet, or a CSV. And if we click on Excel, this may take a moment to bring up, but let's see if we can bring this up. It's going to have a timestamp for when your students took the quiz. It's going to have an indicator if they got the question correct. It'll be highlighted in pink, or sorry, green. If it's incorrect, it'll be highlighted in pink. It might take a moment to pull that up, but you'll have a full list of all your students' results. Now something, if you teach multiple segments of your subject area, you may want students to put their first name, last initial, or a period number that they meet in that first slide where they have to indicate themselves. So just make sure so that it's easy for you to analyze the data. Make sure that you know which students took the quiz.
Is this only accessible when we have custom?
This will be accessible to anyone that has the service. As far as saving all the lessons and the digital storyboards, you need to be logged into your custom account. You need to be logged into your account. So anyone that has the service, if they've created an account, will be able to see the digital storyboards and the tools. But you do need to be logged in, so that's anyone in the service. So it's just a feature of the PBS Learning Media service. So they will not have access to pulling in those resources that are premium. So just make sure if you're sending it out to a teacher that doesn't have the custom service, they will not see those premium resources that are embedded into a lesson that you create.
And we'll have custom for 1 year?
1 year, correct. Yes?
What kind of accessibility do you have for special needs students in your class?
So the interactives are going to have the accessibility features listed on the left-hand side of, under that accessibility. Let's do a search for, what's a good interactive we could do here? Let's do Peg plus Cat. If we go scroll down to, let's do media types, let's do interactives. If we scroll down to accessibility features, there's control flexibility. So there's a full mouse control here for this one. Only one interactive has this. So primarily a lot of the accessibility features at this point are going to be around the closed captioning and the transcripts we have available for students. But that will definitely evolve as we bring more interactives into the service. That's a great, we've gotten that question a lot, and I could foresee that in the future. We do not have the text-to-speech right now, but I could see that in the future. But with the closed captioning too, of course, you have the text at the bottom of the screen that appears with the caption. But then with the Spanish and English translation, when you toggle to the Spanish, you will have the Spanish translation written in text for anything that's translated into that language. Yes? The English-Spanish translation, or yes, if you want to find any resources that have a Spanish translation, it'll be listed right here under the language type. So we're just in one resource now, but if you check here for Peg plus Cat, we have the interactives only in English. But if we go back, let's see, you'll see that we have 3 of our Peg plus Cat resources in Spanish. It's in this filtering option under language, and you would just choose Spanish. And so this will show me what resources I have for that keyword search under Spanish. That's a great question. If you do Spanish videos in quotation marks, you'll see all the Spanish videos that we have. And then you can filter on the left-hand side by grade level. Now we're a little bit after the noon mark, but I also have the digital storyboards to show. But I can hold off that if we have the lunch ready, or if we have any other questions that are coming in. Any other questions? Are we good with lunch, Ruth? Or?
We are, or we can, if you want to finish up the rest.
Okay. Great. So the very last piece I want to show, I know we're probably all hungry, our stomachs are growling. It's this digital storyboard piece. And once again, the quiz maker is just like the lesson builder. You just don't bring in media. It's just the quiz questions. Let's go to the storyboard.
Real quick question on the quiz maker.
Yes.
Download previous quizzes?
Previous.
Do you have quizzes already made or tests? Can you download them?
We do not have the previous quizzes that teachers have made, but that is a feature coming this fall. So teachers, once they make a quiz, if they want to share that out, they'd be able to share that out as part of PBS Learning Media. So then you'd be able to search for those quizzes that students teachers have created. Same goes for a digital storyboard. So that's coming this fall. And I'll have a tutorial. We'll have a tutorial for how to use that feature. So once again, with the digital storyboard, you have a tutorial that pops up. To create a class storyboard, simply click Create Class Storyboard. And this allows you, as a teacher, to create a storyboard that your students can see. You would give it a title. You can add a text box. You can eliminate any of these boxes as you move along. So you can add a title for your digital storyboard. You would add media. Once again, you can search the entire site, your favorites. And then these will then be added. You'll have a tag if it cannot be added because it doesn't have that permission level of being shared. So you'll know if a resource cannot be shared in your digital storyboard. So let's go ahead and add this one around building a satellite. And that will appear in my digital storyboard. I can move these around, put in different places on my canvas there. You can add text. We have a clip art library of 10,000 images, so you can add any images from PBS Learning Media. And then we also have nifty way of adding a background. So if you wanted to add one of these colorful backgrounds, select that, and that will appear in your digital storyboard. If we go back after saving this, you'll see that we have a full list of the digital storyboards you've created. Once again, students can access this through that URL, or you can send it out to colleagues. So I'm going to Control-C. I'm going to paste that into my browser here. And you'll see I created one around an invention challenge for 6th grade students. And so students can go through this lesson that I've created, but it's just presented in a different way through this digital storyboard. They can play the videos. This video here has closed captions. I ended with an assignment, a call to action for the students. So it shows up as this interactive web page that students can engage with. If students wanted to create their own, once again, if they're over the age of 13, they can create their own. They would just need to create an account on PBS Learning Media Students or pbsstudents.org. Right now I'm logged in as a teacher, but they would just create an account where they, you'll see the green button there where they can do that. It was just ask them to create a word, put 2 words together that are randomly chosen by PBS Learning Media, and they'll then identify their age so that we know that they're over the age of 13. Yes? The storyboard be linked into the lesson builder. Yes. So if you created that storyboard and had the link, now on the lesson builder, you can add a hyperlink. So you could add that as a hyperlink. Great idea. And if your students are under the age of 13, or if you just want to create an assignment for any student in your class to create their own digital storyboard, you'd go back into your dashboard, into Tools, back to Storyboard. And then this is where you could assign a student storyboard. And since you're designing this and assigning it as the teacher, students under the age of 13 could create their very own digital storyboard. So you give them directions on what to create. And then after saving your assignment, if we go into storyboard assignments, you'll see if I click that plus sign, once again, you have that URL as you do in the lesson builder, or that assignment code. And so students, if they're under the age of 13, they can create that digital storyboard based on the assignment code or the URL that's offered up to you in the digital storyboard creator. I know that's a ton of information, and it's especially difficult if you can't always follow along, but I am going to be here throughout this second half. We will answer any questions. We'll break up in smaller groups if you can stay with us. And very quickly, I just want to highlight a couple things from my slides here. So I have a link for the folder that I've created of a lot of the content I showcased. You can access it via that Google code there, and that will take you to the folder that I've created with a lot of resources from this workshop. I think I even have additional ones that weren't highlighted today. And so that's the shareable link. So I'll give you a moment to type that out or take a photo. Everyone get it? Okay. Yes, we need a QR code. That's a good idea. And then please follow us. Oh, I'll go back. Do you want me to go back? Did you get Please follow us on social media. The next slide has all of our social media channels. We are constantly updating those posts with new resources that are coming to PBS Learning Media, topical and relevant resources for any holidays or events you see out in the news. So check out our Facebook and our Twitter and our Pinterest. Everyone get it? Great. So there is our information about following us online. And then also, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have those virtual events, the training sessions through webinars. I have a lot of training videos in that FAQ section at the top of the page as well. I want to thank you all for walking through PBS Learning Media's site. I know, like I said, it's a lot to take in, and I will be here to answer your questions. This next half, we're really going to focus on making sure you're comfortable building out your own folders, creating some digital storyboards, creating self-paced lessons if you'd like, just to prepare you for the coming year. But if you have any questions, I'll be around during lunch and then for that next half. But thank you so much for all of your insight as we moved along here, and I hope this sparks some ideas of how you can use digital content from PBS Learning Media in your curriculum. Thank you, everyone.